Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning. Mike Arnold here, co-founder of Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. How is everyone doing this morning? Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Davey. With our PPI numbers, thank you for posting those. 1.4 coming in hotter than 1.1. And we'll go through those in a second. Good morning, Wavy. Good morning, William. Are we bullish or bearish? Well, we will find out, won't we? Good morning, George. I don't know if it's a good one yet. What's a good one? It depends on your positioning, isn't it? Good morning, Options 22. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning to everybody on the other platforms. Before we really get into things, by the way, if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term viewers, please come back, leave some comments. If you want to share a vision, you can always jump in the live chat too. So where do we sit now? Where do we sit? A little bright. I have the lights up a little bright in here, so I got a little shine on my head. Sorry about that. PPI is real what we're focused on, and then we'll take a look at the markets again. Forecast 1.1 coming in at 1.4. Core even beating almost double the core. Double the core forecast. 0.5 versus 1 actual. Year over year coming in at 9.2 versus 8.4. And just that was for the core, and the standard PPI over year coming in at 11.2 versus 10.6. Coming in extremely hot. Will the producers be able to pass a lot of that to the consumers in the coming months? This is where, we were hearing the chatter yesterday. Peak inflation's in, peak inflation's in. I don't think peak inflation's in with these numbers. Okay, because this is still stuff that gets passed forward to the extent they can. And for what they can't, this is what starts hitting earnings and everything. So that's going to get very interesting, not for this quarter's earnings, but especially for second quarter earnings. So remember that. All your oil numbers come out in about 85 minutes. So keep an eye on that with oil. FOMC still 85%. It's a done deal. It's a 50 basis point hike. Just a reminder, still in negative gamma territory. So amplified moves both up and down. You see here's the S&P 1 hour chart. Really not breaking much on those PPI numbers. Little reaction, but there's a lot of buying pressure in here. So we had this little double overnight that came back down, just putting that up there. So, but that's essentially over. So there is no major pattern. By the way, this potential double we had yesterday is now a really, because this was one side on the larger time frame. If you see here on the 4 hour, 1, 2, 3 triple bottom, which only slightly favors a continuation pattern, but I need either to break down or to breakout play. So what I am watching this morning, again, unless there's a little short-term pattern, we have a potential 5-minute pattern, which everybody who knows the double rules can put it up there. I'm really watching, besides that little thing on the open, we start breaking down with momentum below 43.84. We'll watch for a retest of 43.75. That's sort of a key line in the sand. Now you want your short-term levels, because again, I'm still short-term watching for that bounce just because of where everything is. And it's so far shrugged off that PPI information, which is a massive inflationary beat to, that's a beat to the upside, not so you want it to actually beat to the downside. This is a great place to use your little harmonic. So if we drew break 43.75, 43.64, and 43.52, I'm then, if we do have a little rally off the open, my area I'm really keying off of is 44.28. That's where I start to get intraday bullish. We'll watch the other side of the rotation zone, but we get through there, we could see a retest of this key little high area from yesterday. So that's really, it's either the breakout or the breakdown on the open. I'm waiting for the opening price. And if we break down, I want to see that retest and roll over instead of a suck-in trap like yesterday and then the rally off it. I want to see the breakdown and the rollover. Looks like we're getting a little thin price action breaking down right now, but really, in about 20 minutes, that's going to be key. And that still could be in play, this little potential double, but we shall see. That's the only thing now that I'm watching off the open. NASDAQ is now the same thing. Potential double is now a triple, so we cannot trade off that information. The NASDAQ then, again, breakdown below about, I'm going to update this with the overnight price action and then the little harmonic here to see if we do break below the low of, let me give you the exact price of 13,977.50, then 13,831, 13,870. Major would be 13,707 to 13,678. Again, our same rules apply. If we break down below, I want to see a retest and a rollover to avoid a fake out move. I don't think there's any major bullish pattern on here yet. There's another potential double here. So that's really what I'm watching off these opens. And I would shift it to conservative target, but these are the things I'm watching off the opens. If it holds, if these lows hold, and I'm talking the lows from this morning when the PPI numbers came out. See, that's at 7:30. So that's what I'm watching. Pretty much, it's either the breakout or the breakdown play. And even if we do break down and does a fake out, I'm watching for a potential rally. Again, very oversold conditions. Then that rally is for me to establish a longer term bearish positions. As I said yesterday, if you missed the overview there, I had another longer term bearish system, and we're talking something a very long term bearish system trigger with yesterday's price action. Good morning, Amit. Good morning, Anna. How are you today? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate everybody who does tune in. Wonderful to prep ourselves before the markets. Dow. Again, there was no double yesterday because, yes, you had two bottoms, but it did not work with the levels because the levels all exceeded the move that started. Remember, a double pattern is a reversal. So you cannot use the targets if they exceed the move that started it. So we have to just use the harmonics. Those same harmonics still in play to the upside. Off the open, though, it really, with this price action, going to really be watching the Dow first at this lower edge. But if it does break down below the low of 34,000, then you can put up the harmonics here. I'm more going to be focused on this bigger level. But it's reinforced. So look at this. The harmonics just reinforced. This is the level I was going to focus on, 33.9, 35 area. And then major, if we sell off about 33.832 on a rally. This is the first area I'm watching for a break above 34.221. And then I'd want to retest and a rotation back up, and if we get above that, then I'm going back to about 34,362. So, and you do still have, we have some potential doubles still going into the open. So this is what I'm keying off of for any up move. All right. And keep in mind, these are only 5-minute doubles. So these aren't long-term plays. These are only short-term. There's your upside play. So now we have upside and downside breakout plays going in. Russell, nothing really going in with Russell. We have this wide range bar yesterday. So there's just either a break below yesterday's low or a break above yesterday's high is really all I'm looking at. DAX tried to rally back down below this key level of 14,073. So if it continues down, I'm watching for 13,900 for support. We break down below 13,900. Then this is a little great area to watch for your next harmonics breaking lower. This almost does look like with this little hitch in here, interesting head and shoulders, but it's got a downward sloping neckline. So I would just be looking, if you're watching for bigger, lower price levels, you're going to want to focus on this area right here, 13,690 to about 13,629. Crude, you can see here we had that double trigger yesterday. And this is why I love these patterns. Coming up, pausing now at the second target. So this is definitely take something off the table and raise some stops. Again, can't give individual advice. This is for educational purposes, so you can see how these things trade. In the next target, 103.71, is pretty key because that's the end of this clear path move. Does it have to stop there? Can it go higher beyond there? Yes. But then you get into all this choppy price action. So that's why, this is why we raise a stop and take something off the table, and then ends the pattern. And then if we're going to pull back and rotate back up, it could be a new entry. We're getting, a little overbought on the 4 hours. So and this is, by the way, is not a double top. I will just watch for this base about 100. If we start breaking below 100, the pattern is essentially over, and I will watch for a retest of the double breakout zone coming back to about 98.60 area. Gold, slight little reversal, not yet to the next harmonic. On a pullback, though, I'm focused on 1972. We run up 1992. Above 1992, there is a fair amount of resistance, and this is why it's still trading around the core position. So the next target would be about 2011. Silver, again, still having some key resistance right around here, about 26 now. But above 26, you still just run into the end of this. So this is where it's still choppy. Now, where it gets interesting is if you see silver push up above 26, 27, then you're into a clear path move. So keep that in mind. Notes, again, watching for that bottoming pattern. We had that little double yesterday, rallying up, coming back, and now moving back up. So I'm really focused on higher price action in notes, about 121.08, and then majors 121.22, because if we get above there, I will watch for a return to 123 area. You see here reacting right now to the daily rotation zone. We start getting in there, and you could see an interesting run back up, especially at 62.5 level. There's a key close. There's a key close. So this is your key area to focus on short term. Dollar index pushing higher against the next harmonic. So above there, 182, then 101.80.08 are your targets. VIX, still a little rotation up today, but again, I'm watching for the close above 25. We have not gotten a close. We got a spike above 25, but no close above 25. That's still my line in the sand to start watching for more fear coming in. JP Morgan earnings this morning, miss. Okay, miss on earnings. EPS is a miss. Revenue up, surprise the upside, but earnings miss the downside. Not great guidance. Now trading below this key support level. We'll see how much of this gap it can retrace, but this is not bullish. Even with a gap fill, we'll watch for another rollover play in JP Morgan, because now you're coming down here. What's interesting is you have the weekly 200 right down here, 125. So that's going to be key to watch how it reacts around this area. But even on a slight rally gap fill, I'm watching longer term for these rollover plays. The double is still in place even with this little gap down today, so keep that in mind. Touching on a couple other earnings, Bed Bath & Beyond, just because we had that ramp up, remember. And by the way, this is not a double top because it's not reversing enough of the move, but you're going to get the gap fill. They had horrible results. Also going to get that gap fill eventually right there. So what else Delta. Delta gap up today. It's going to be very interesting. Keep an eye on Delta, especially for some short-term plays. It's now gapping. See, we had resistance at the 200. This little topping pattern, drawing back down, finding support. Now looks like we're going to gap right to the 200, possibly above it. So I'm watching for this area to become support. And this is, again, great area to do your little harmonics. You can play a little breakout play, 4150 area right here. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful target to the upside. You see here, end of this little run-up move, 4157, then above that, 4289. This could have a little legs for a while. And then 4449. I really need it to hold the 200. If it gaps up and then starts retracing below the 200, and can't hold it, I will watch then at least for the gap fill short term, because then it could not sustain the breakout play. So keep that in mind on any breakout play. For me, it is using a very tight stop, because you do have this gap potential fill if it does break down. Let's see where we sit. I'll get to questions in a second. Tesla, nothing fantastic on Tesla, just possibly a slight gap down. Key support about 90, 955. What you can watch for intraday, this is more like a triple little thing, but you still have the, remember it got rejected yesterday from the 87.5% harmonic, so there still is a gap fill up here, but you do have a lot of choppy price action. The only way I get super bullish on Tesla right now is if the NASDAQ starts rallying. Okay, your key 50% level, 954, 955 is one to watch. So let's see what crude inventories. Yep, keep an eye. Then I talked about that earlier, but keep an eye on crude inventories. Regarding your lease, if you're interested in a local Porsche Orlando dealer has a well-equipped, not skim, but too much equipped Taycan Turbo S. That could be interesting. And actually, my wife's flying down to Jacksonville this Sunday. We're starting to look at some property in Florida. So for renting, by the way, not buying right into this market, but trying to get out of the Chicagoland area. So we shall see if that works. Markets can remain oversold for a while. Key identification of when it will bounce. That's why I'm watching for. I talked about I need some patterns to kick in. It can also remain overbought for a while. That's why you just don't buy or sell overbought or oversold conditions. You wait for patterns. Good morning, Sterling. Mike, do you have rules for stop placement on gap fill plays on daily time frames? I think I've got a. Can you ask me this afternoon? We can go over that, Jake. Just because we're running into the opens, and if you just want a key thing, remember you watch for that close above the 62.5. And I trail with the harmonics. Use those same gap harmonics to trail a stop higher. That is the best thing I've found out. So let me jump back. I'll show you real quick, really super quick, like yesterday's with Tesla's price action. So you're putting on your gap harmonics, and you focus on see how it got rejected from the 62.5. You finally got the close above 62.5. It hits here, I start raising. So initially you start hitting down here, stop 995. We start hitting up here, it starts getting to where it can get to a break-even position, because this is another key area with this topping pattern. You see here we had a double top. So this was aggressively raise up the stop and use your prior harmonics. You don't want you to focus on those other lines. So this is where you raise it, especially with this top pattern. Okay, and you either to get a break even or a slight loss. That's how I like to do the harmonics in case it does roll over. And I do watch that 87.5. But then for the breakdown play, let's go reverse. Remember, just teaching because there is that gap in JP Morgan. There's some gaps out there potentially today. So just going over this real quick. And then you got to do your reverse once it starts breaking down. The close below is 62.5. So even these areas are to be sold, because look, you rally back harmonic, hold here harmonic, break down harmonic, resistance. These are why these harmonics are so good, even for stops and target levels. And you see once it close below here, you're still favoring the gap fill now to the downside, which you essentially got right here. Not to the bottom gap fill, but you essentially got it to this little area. And again, look what you had here. Double bottom play. Double bottom play, you tighten up the stop aggressively because you get the move above there. You don't want to be, you're not trying to eke out a couple more pennies against a double bottom. So that's a couple ways you can do it right there. NVIDIA. NVIDIA looks like they have a slight gap up. I'll watch for the little pullback play. And then if we get a rally in the NASDAQ, key area for NVIDIA is still this 227. Why am I watching? Until then, at this point, not really doing much here because we have that gap fill above. Unless we start getting the strong NASDAQ, there's really no other great pattern just off the open right now. Unless you want to play a quick little breakout play about 216.50, I'd really wait for about above 217. But there's no super strong pattern developed yet. Again, everything in these in the mega caps and tech stocks needs some good rallying in price action. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention JP Morgan announced a new buyback plan. Just peeking in at Apple. Apple again, slight gap up. We'll watch some of these mega caps on how they go off the open. Microsoft, watching to see if this holds, but not again. There's not a great pattern. It's the only. Let's peek back at the. All right, the doubles are still in play, at least in the S&P. So I'm focused on 43.98.50 to see how that reacts on the open in 5 minutes. NASDAQ's 13,991 still in play, and Dow 34,133. That's the level to the upside I'm watching, and you want your levels to the downside would now, since we've bounced off this and held these lows, your short-term levels would be 34,056. NASDAQ, I wouldn't focus on this low. I'd focus on the 13,935, and the S&P would be 43.84. Thank you, Wavy. Paul, check out Ponte Vedra just south of Jacksonville. I think that's one of the areas she is checking out. Thank you. And if anybody has any other recommendations, and why we're focusing on Jacksonville is my sister is moving there with her husband. So that would be an area to also be around family, because I've lived in a bunch of places in Florida before, but that was years ago. So if anybody has some recommendations, please let me know. Again, we can continue that conversation. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Don't try to front run anything in these markets. Again, it's going to be all keying off the open, and we will review things afternoon. Coastal Oaks Community, thank you, Paul. I'm going to look that up once it dies down after the open. Again, if anybody wants to reach out to me via email, support at Path Trading Partners, and I will get it sent to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thank you for all these wonderful viewers and subscribers and everybody who tunes in on other platforms. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, St. Augustine is a beautiful area. Thank you, Ted. Thank you again. Thank you for the suggestions. Or if anybody knows anybody renting a house, put me in touch with them so we can take a look at it. I will talk to everyone later. Bye for now.